Ever get that feeling like when you answer someone who asks, "How are you?"
Yeah.
You sound kind of like, well, a textbook.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's a pretty common thing, especially when you're trying to sound more like a native speaker.
Well, good news, because on this deep dive, we're tackling that question, how are you? And how to answer it naturally. We've got some really cool insights from a language expert to help us all sound more confident and, well, fluent.
It really is amazing how much we can learn about, communication by looking closely at these little exchanges.
Absolutely. So to start, we got to ditch the robotic, I'm fine, thank you, and you. It's like we're all programmed to say that,
Yeah.
but it just doesn't sound genuine.
Yeah, it's like a dead end for the whole conversation.
So what can we do instead? Well, our expert has come up with two really useful strategies to help us sound, well, more natural and engaging.
The first one we can kind of think of as the echo. Basically, you give a real answer about how you're doing, and then you kind of echo back a similar question to the other person.
So like instead of just, I'm good, I would add on something like, how about you? Or how are things with you?
Exactly. That shows that you care about how they are too, and it helps keep the conversation going. Now, the trick is to match how formal or casual the situation is. You know what I mean? Like if you're talking to a close friend, you might say, I'm fantastic, what's new with you? But if it's more of a formal setting, you might say, I'm doing well, thank you, and yourself.
Yeah, that makes total sense. It's about adapting to the conversation. So the echo helps make things more balanced and natural. What about the second strategy?
The second one is what we call the connector. This is where you take things a step further by connecting your answer to something specific you know about the other person's life. It really shows that you're listening and you genuinely care about what's going on with them.
Ah, I see. So it's about going beyond just being polite and really showing that you want to engage with them.
Right. Imagine you're talking to someone who just started a new job. Instead of just saying, I'm good, you could ask, I'm doing well, thanks. How's that new job going?
Okay, I get it. You're connecting your answer back to their life, showing you remember what they told you and that you're interested in what they're experiencing.
Exactly. Or let's say you're talking to someone who's going through a rough patch. Instead of just that regular, I'm fine, you could try, I'm hanging in there. I know things have been a bit rough for you lately. How are you holding up?
That's so much more thoughtful and genuine, than just giving a standard answer and ignoring what they're going through.
And it gives them a chance to open up and share if they want to.
Right, so we have the echo, where we kind of ask the question back, and the connector, where we make our answer personal based on what we know about the other person. These are really helpful tools to sound more natural and fluent. But what about those times when life throws us a curveball, even when our English is pretty good?
Oh, you mean those unexpected moments that remind us that language is always changing and full of surprises? I have a story about that.
I was hoping you would. Our expert has this really funny story about back in university. It really shows how even fluent speakers can have these, well, interesting moments. So our expert is sound asleep in their dorm room at uni, right? And their best friend walks in and asks, hey, how are you?
Sounds pretty normal, yeah.
Exactly. Our expert, half asleep, mumbles out like, I'm good, how are you?
Okay, nothing too crazy yet. What happened?
Well, the friend asks, do you remember anything from last night? And our expert's like, nope, slept like a log. What about you?
Uh-oh, I feel like something's coming.
You bet. The friend tells them that they had a whole phone conversation with our expert, like at 11:30 the night before.
Wait, they talked to them while they were sleeping?
Not just talked, like a full-on conversation.
Yeah.
A group of friends called, they asked questions, and our expert, still asleep, gave answers, even said goodnight before hanging up.
Whoa, that's wild. They didn't remember any of it.
Nope, not a thing. Turns out our expert was a sleep talker back then and had no clue about these late-night chats.
That's kind of funny, but also kind of creepy. It just shows how language can work even when we're not really aware of it.
Yeah, like our brains are still doing their thing even when we're out cold. It makes you wonder what other hidden language stuff we might be capable of.
For sure. But for now, let's get back to those two ways of sounding more natural when we answer, how are you? We've got the echo, where we ask the question back, and the connector, where we make it personal based on the other person. Both are really good for sounding fluent and connecting with people. It gets us away from those robotic answers and into real, interesting conversations.
I bet some of our listeners are thinking, okay, this sounds great, but how do I actually use these in real life?
Great question. Knowing the ideas is one thing, but actually using them can be a bit different. How about we try a little role playing to see how they sound?
I like that. Hearing them in action would be helpful.
Okay, let's say you bump into a colleague you haven't seen in a while. I'll be the colleague, and you try the echo technique.
Okay, I'm ready.
Hey there, it's good to see you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. How have things been with you?
Perfect. You gave a real answer and then echoed the question back in a way that works for like a work setting. See, it felt pretty natural.
It did. Okay, let's switch. You try answering, how are you, this time. Let's pretend we're close friends and, I just got a new puppy. Use the connector.
Gotcha. Hit me with those puppy questions.
Hey, how are you? How's everything going?
I'm doing pretty well, thanks. I heard you adopted a puppy. How's that going? Puppy cuddles all day, I bet.
Exactly. You brought in my new puppy right into your answer, showing that you care about what's going on in my life. That's the connector in action.
It's all about those little things that show you're paying attention and that you care.
Okay, so we've got the echo and the connector. We've heard them in action, and we even had a laugh about that sleep talking story.
But there's one more really important thing our expert wants you to remember.
What's that one last takeaway?
Well, now that you have these tools, the echo and the connector, try this. Pay attention to how native speakers around you answer, "How are you?" in everyday life. You'll be surprised by all the little variations and things you'll pick up just by listening.
That's a good point. Like, we can make our everyday conversations into little English lessons.
Exactly. It's all about training our ears to really hear the natural flow of conversation. You might even hear a new phrase or two you can start using yourself.
So it's not just about remembering phrases. It's more about, absorbing the language, how it's actually spoken around us all the time.
Exactly. And the more you listen, the more comfortable you'll become using these strategies in different situations.
This deep dive has been really insightful. We've learned to ditch those robotic I'm fine answers and use more genuine ways to connect with people.
It's all about bringing your own personality into those daily interactions.
So remember the echo, where we ask the question back, and the connector, where we make it personal, and most importantly, have fun with it.
Yeah, for sure. Don't be afraid to try things out. See what works for you, what sounds natural.
Well, that wraps up another deep dive. Go out there and rock those how are you moments.
Ah.
Until next time, happy learning.